Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thanks for joining me tonight on this beautiful Shabbat. We are going to start our service tonight in Mishkan Tefillah on page 120 and 121 with the candle lighting blessings. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat. Hello, Preston. I'm so glad you made it tonight. Our next bar mitzvah, letting me know he's in the chat. Love it. So we're gonna warm up some more. We started with some nigunim to just get our spirits in the right place, and we've lit our Shabbat candles, but we're not quite ready to start our service until we've welcomed in the Sabbath bride on page 138 and 139. And we sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And when we reach verse 9, if you are able, I encourage you or invite you to rise and face wherever you envision the Sabbath bride coming into you tonight. So, in the synagogue, that's you face the front door. I'm already outside, so I don't know. I guess I could face the water. Maybe she's gliding in on a kayak. Maybe you face a window, or you face your own beloved, who embodies the Sabbath joy for you. As the lyrics say, enter, O bride. Come, my beloved, let us greet this Shabbat. Enter, my bride, enter, my bride. So, when we get to verse 9, face Shabbat whichever way she comes to you. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. 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 Shamor v'zachor v'diborecha, tishmi'anu elam yochad. Adonai echad, v'shemo echad, v'shemo tiferet v'tila. Lecha לקראת כלה, כדי שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה ומחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, כדי שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, כדי שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה. Oh, we already did that verse. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך ומאורי, אורי, אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נקרא. לך דודי לקראת כלה, כדי שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, כדי שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום אדרבה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, כדי שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, כדי שבת נקבלה. Now we have fully warmed ourselves up and are ready to segue into the Chatzi Kaddish, into our service with the Chatzi Kaddish on page 144. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ועמד יברח ירתה וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחייתך בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך, ועלם ולעלמי עמיה, יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם וינשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי קודשה בריחו, לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן בעלמא, ואמרו אמן. On page 146, we come to the call to worship. I'm just gonna get to it in my Shirenu. Yep. I invite you to prepare yourself for the Baruch Hu. Rose, you may be seated. And we continue together in the English on page 147. 149. This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. We continue now on page 150. Ahavat olam beit Yisrael, amcha ahavta, Torah umitzvot, chokim umishpatim, otanu limadeta, al pen Adonai Eloheinu v'shachenu, ufkumenu na'asiyah v'chukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, ve'olam va'ed, ki hem chayenu, ve'orech yameinu, u'bahem negei yomam v'layla, negei yomam v'layla, v'ahavadcha al tatir, mimenu le'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael, Ohev Amo Yisrael. On pages 152 and 153, we have the Shema followed by the Ve'ahavta. I invite you to prepare yourself for these words of Torah. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod, Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, b'chol levavcha, u'b'chol nafshecha, u'b'chol me'otecha, v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele, asher anochi mitzavecha, hayom al levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha b'beitecha, v'vlechtecha b'derech, v'shachtecha uvkumecha, וכשתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בעיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Amen. Page 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. Mi chamocha ma'alim Adonai, mi chamocha neder b'kodesh, Nora tehilot oseh v'ela, Nora tehilot oseh v'ela. V'alechutecha ra'u banecha bokei hayam lifnei Baruch Hayim Adonai Nikamocha Neder Bakodesh Norat Tehilot Hosei Kalai Norat Tehilot Kalai Norat Tehilot Hosei Kalai Baruch Ata Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. On page 160, we have Hashivenu. Hashivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'shalom, L'shalom, L'hamidenu Shomreinu L'chaim. Ufrosalenu Sukat Shlomecha, Ufrosalenu Sukat Shlomecha. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us daily wrong from right, O Adonai. Amen. 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 Baruch Atah Adonai, Haporei Sukat Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. Page 162. Ve'shamru b'nei Yisrael et haShabbat, la'asot et haShabbat le'dorotam berit olam. Ve'shamru b'nei Yisrael et haShabbat, la'asot et b'nei Yisrael Oti le'olam, Oti le'olam. Ve'shamru b'nei Yisrael et haShabbat, la'asot et haShabbat le'dorotam berit olam. V'sheshet yamim asa Adonai, asa Adonai et haShabbat, la'asot et haShabbat le'dorotam berit olam. Ubayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. Ve'shamru b'nei Yisrael et haShabbat, la'asot et haShabbat le'dorotam berit olam. And now we come to the central portion of our evening prayer, the Amidah. The Amidah begins on page 164 and continues over the next few pages. I invite you to prepare yourself for this set of blessings. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agid tehilatecha. Eternal God, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, Elohei Rachel, El Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, Levi Gula Livnei V'Neihem, למען שמו באהבה, melech ozer u'moshiach u'magen. Baruch atah Adonai, magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, mechayeh hakol atah rav lehoshia, morid hatal, mechalkel chayim bechesed. Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, somech noflim verofech cholim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato lishenei afar, michamocha ba'al gedrot, umidom melach, melech memit umechaye, umatzmiach Yeshua, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kedoshim b'chol yom yehalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. You may be seated. We continue together on page 173. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer, wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored, in all lands. You are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, she'orcha levadcha b'yirah na'avod. When we behold your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars that you set in place. Sometimes you can see Saturn right there this time of night. It's not quite out yet, or it's cloudy. Sun and moon, stars, Saturn that you set in place. What are we humans that you are mindful of us? We mortals that you take note of us. You made us little less than divine, adorned us with glory and majesty. You gave us dominion over your handiwork, laying the world at our feet. How majestic. 178, a song for peace. Shalom Al Yisrael Tasim Leolam. Shalom Al Yisrael Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech Adon B'chol hashalom. B'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלום לך. Shalom Rab Yisrael Alcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Tasim Leolam. We take a moment now for silent prayer. You might use the words on pages 180 and 181 or the meditations of your own heart. Yehiyu leratzon imrefi nefsi v'hayom libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri Adonai tzuri v'goali May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, Adonai, my rock and my redeemer. We turn our thoughts now to those who are ill or injured and need prayers for healing. As I read the names on my list, please feel free to put other names in the chat for whom you are praying for health tonight. Mary Kennedy, Rosalind Cantu, Mike Haug, Lori Perry, Nick Joliot, Bernard Strassner, Ariel Batsluva, Gail O'Neill, Rhoda Wessler, Marion Finkel, Skip Cathy and Jeffrey Brace, Rhonda Butler, Ricky Grant, Shoshana Bat Abraham, Minna Dornfeld, John Manners, Michael Kumakawa, Neil Savage, Joey Jones, Juliette Origi, Sharon Kalb, Leslie White, Shirley Kronig, Art and Peggy Hart, John Cruel, Ann Cohen, Carrie Rosen, and Lou Belcher. Okay. And of course, we continue to hold in our prayers all those afflicted with the COVID virus or other unknown illnesses. The Misha Berach is on page 371, and we pray for the health of mind, body, and spirit to all those in need. Find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Yishaberach imotenu v'kol ha'bracha la'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. This week's Torah portion is Parashat Ki Teitzei, which includes many commandments that may seem problematic for our modern sensitivities, but were actually incredibly revolutionary for their time. Commenting on an earlier part of Deuteronomy, Nachmanides, a lesser-known contemporary of Maimonides, says the institutions of community and all the nations. Rather, after having mentioned a number of them, such as, do not stand idly by the blood of your neighbor, and others like that, the Torah goes back to say, in a general way, that one should do the good and the straight in all matters. In this parsha, we see commandments regarding slavery and war crimes that still seem to accept the inevitability of such evil institutions, while creating barriers to them. So one might ask, if the Torah is inclined to offer freedom to fugitive slaves from other nations who flee to the Holy Land, why not outlaw slavery entirely? If the Torah is concerned with treating captives of war humanely, why allow capturing civilians in wartime at all? Rabbi Shai Held writes in his modern commentary, The Heart of Torah, that society's laws are not a perfect encapsulation of its moral ideas. We all know that legality should not be the standard for morality. Plenty of things in history have been legally sanctioned, and officially sanctioned, despite their immorality, such as slavery. Yet we should strive to create laws that reflect our highest ethical values. The trouble is, sometimes different sectors of society have different ideas about what the highest ethical value is or how to achieve it. So it becomes necessary, on occasion, to make compromises or settle for reforms to urge the rest of society forward on something that should just be abolished. In the ancient Near East, most countries mandated extradition of fugitive slaves. It is entirely possible that among the Israelites, despite being a recently freed people themselves, there were those who saw themselves as entitled to own slaves now as well, to be like the other nations. For the Torah to advocate freedom and equality really shakes things up. Legislation to help regulate the worst of human inclination would have been a radical progressive act in itself. But the thing with progress is that it never ceases. The Torah held ancient Israelites to a higher standard than their neighbors and set the tone for what would become Jewish ethics of freedom, equality, acts of loving kindness, justice, righteous giving, labor regulations, also in this week's Parsha, contributing to the destruction of the climate. Those people are our prophets, reminding us to the call to do what is good and straight in all matters, continuing the Torah's trend toward justice, love, acceptance, and progression toward ever higher ethical values. May we always do what is good and straight, even when it is difficult and new, and may we continue to push for freedom and dignity for all. Amen and Shabbat Shalom. We turn now toward our concluding prayers. The Aleinu is on page 586, and I invite you to prepare yourself for this blessing. תהת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלך כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד. ושמו אחד. You may be seated. We turn our thoughts now to those among us, those who are no longer among us in body, but remain with us in spirit. Again, as I read the names on my list, please feel free to add names in the chat of those for whom you are saying Mourner's Kaddish tonight. This week marks a yahrzeit for Henry Burdett Berry, William Gilman, and Sidney Daniels. And we are still within the year of mourning for Harold Herman, Nancy Holowitz, Roland Laramie, Mindy Ferenz, Moishe Deutsch, Douglas Miguel Rodriguez, Bob Katz, Roger Haug, Paula Cooper, Ernie Weissman, Doris Oleski, Sandra Lenag, David Avery, Art Rich, Jason Brown, Louis Petrozello, Gary Lyons, John DiNicola, Arizona Breeding, Fran Morona, Rick Grossman, Aura Alba Leon, Sharon Buell, and Mona Mandel. The Mourner's Kaddish is on page 598. Mourners and those who wish to join them may rise. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chaye echon u'v'yom echon u'v'chaye d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kari v'imru, Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitnaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. We come now to some announcements while you should all go get your challah and cookies or your juice and your wine, whatever you're going to make motzi and kiddush over tonight. Some announcements. As you probably saw, the synagogue received a threatening email last week, but everything is under control now. But sort of in response to that, we are going to be having a sort of solidarity t-shirt campaign like we do with the custom ink. All 12th in the evening, make sure you save the date. Details are still being worked out, but we're going to do some kind of game night together safely. That will also be your opportunity to pick up prayer books if you want them, and so on. So that's the evening of Slichot, September 12th. Most of our High Holy Day stuff is going to be online this year. The schedule went out in an email. It's posted on our website. There's a Facebook event for it. The one thing that is also in person besides Slichot, which isn't, I don't know, Slichot will be different, but Tashlich will hopefully be at Bull Run Marina as planned, but please register because we need to keep track of small groups. So if there's more than 20 people that register, we'll add a second service. No one will be kept out, but we do want to keep it tight. Well, not physically. We want to have a small group so we could be standing more than 6 feet apart. So that registration is on the website already, so please go do that. Okay, I think that's my announcements. So we are ready for Motzi and Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Amen. L'chaim. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Our closing song tonight is Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malechei Hasharet, Malechei Elyon. Melech, Malechei Hamlachim HaKadosh, Baruch, Baruch. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Have a wonderful, restful evening.